Okay, folks, as you can see, we have Aristo back with us again today, and I think the title is quite interesting, Balancing Two Windows. Aristo, what do you mean by that?
Well, first, I'd like to say hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here again. And I chose this topic because it is accurate in a way, Basically, what is a window here? The window is a metaphor for our perspective, our worldview. It is not just a subjective perspective, but also what we consider to be an objective one. There are two worldviews. To make it concise, one is this little picture, and the other one is the big picture. So because it's a worldview, though, and because it's not static, and because it really opens up into a happening outside ourselves, even if that happening is also inside ourselves, I call it a window. So we have two windows, and it's not a little window and a big window. It's a window that opens to our microcosm, our immediate environment and personal life, and to our macrocosm, but on a very grand scale. And I'm not talking about the world as in the earth. I'm talking about the cosmos. I'm talking about meaning in general, existential meaning. I'm talking about the deeper issues, the issues that drive people to religion or science or aspiration, without which life would just seem bland and nothing to look forward to, or just one day at a time, or survival. You know, it doesn't mean life can't be fulfilling, but on one level, the bigger picture does drive us. It drives many of us. Even those who are stuck in the little picture occasionally turn around and glimpse at what they believe to be the bigger picture. It's just that they have a crutch of a belief system, for example, that gives them enough answers so they don't have to deal with the bigger picture. The bigger picture can be problematic. Now, for me, in my honest opinion, if one wants to be, well, I read these blogs from someone named John Rappaport. You may know him. You know, he's on alternative stuff and a very, very eloquent person. I think he was a journalist. He has a series on how to escape the matrix, how to navigate the matrix. And much of my commentary here is also along those lines, because I figure if I'm going to say something, it might as well be something I consider useful. I can blab on a bunch of stuff, but I do consider this useful. And the matrix is something that does bind us. It is real. And it is the third window. It is the middleman in our lives. And we know that middlemen are often not to be trusted because they come in when they're not needed. You see, we are the balance between our little picture, our practical, immediate lives, the old-fashioned life, family, friends, enemies, job, whatever you want to call it, you know, just what you're dealing with, what is hands-on, what you know is real, whether it's real or not, philosophically or whatever, but it is tangible to you. And then you have the other, which is a picture that you cannot see, but it underlines everything else. And if you're not going to be consumerist about it, and when I say consumerist, I mean, well, just as we go to the supermarket to get goods, we also refer to certain experts or specialists to give us ideological products. Sometimes they're seminar types, you know, in our day, priests, scientists. Scientists aren't always about technology. They're also about how reality is structured. You have psychologists. You have all of these people that tell you how you function, what the world is, why the world is, if there's a why or if there isn't a why. And even the controversy surrounding it creates a hubbub that fills the space of this window. The last thing anybody wants is for their window to look out into darkness or the void or blinding light or something that is uncomfortable to them and unfamiliar. And yet, if you do go off on your own, that is probably what you're going to have to encounter, at least until you can digest it and focus and learn to actually absorb the vistas of the bigger window. Now, my analogy is limited because a window is also restricted. You have to stay on the inside of the window. But this window is more like, well, your own eyes are like a window to the world. So, you carry it with you. You're not like behind this thing stuck. You can interact with the worlds, both with your own microcosm, your real world, so to speak, and with the macrocosm, which is the cosmic reality underlying the real world. Now, if somebody wants to manipulate you, then the middleman comes in and gives you answers. And we've been conditioned to accept answers by the middleman. And, one thing John Rappaport does emphasize is the power of imagination. We often encourage children to have this, although, there were times when too much imagination is a bad thing because then you don't listen to what they're telling you. But we also can abuse or have an unhealthy imagination, or don't listen to our imagination in the right way, because sometimes it runs away because it's telling us what's going on with us and with the world, even though there are no objective facts to support it. If we know how to listen to it in the right way, then we can actually diagnose our own condition and possibly remedy certain situations, although that path may not be easy. I'm speaking generally because, again, use your imagination is something I also encourage. Use your imagination by making assumptions. The assume makes an ass out of you, of me dictate has limits. It is also used to manipulate you so you don't get outside of your box. If you're going to get outside of your box, you're going to have to make some kind of assumption, and then you're going to have to stick to that assumption really close in order to see if it can survive the test of your own scrutiny. And, you don't just let it go and do its own thing. You got to keep it close. Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, keep your assumptions even closer in order to have feedback with them. And they are not just idle speculation, but these assumptions can be calculated, can be intuitive, can be based on your heart, can be based on sensory dynamics that do not belong to the 5 normal ways of experiencing the world. So the bigger picture plays a big role because it gives us power. What power? The power of purpose. Why do we go for religion? Even atheists have a religion. Their religion is the lack of a God. It's removing that from the equation and then making assumptions in response to that premise. They don't worship anything, but they do revere their own reason and anything.
Absolutely.
That, worship is really misunderstood. Originally, it means reverence. It means a high form of respect and even love. It doesn't mean bowing and scraping and saying, I'm your slave, you are my master. That's from the Bronze Age. That's back in the day when slavery was was an in thing.
Well, it was more overt. Now slavery is covert.
Yes, now it's covert, and it's actually more useful to the slave drivers for it to be covert because you don't have resistance. Everybody's compliant. They'll even fight against liberation, and they'll even demand a liberation that's been formulated for them. Oh, they have to wear white hats or black hats or the bad guys, or they got to look like cowboys, or I don't know what, or they have to have a shining star on their chest and say they're the authorities, the ones we need to obey, and wear uniforms. So there is a lot of conditioning, and the conditioning is the middleman between your windows. You see, you cannot be free without being responsible, and not just able to respond, but able to act. You cannot act without being able to respond. And you cannot be able to respond without the intention to act in some way. And I'm not speaking action formulated through some Hollywood medium, or even an educational medium, or even an institution or anything like that, or any authority. Action is something you define. Make your assumptions and act on them if you dare. That's why be very careful when you make your assumptions. The thing is, imagination challenges the status quo. That is the first thing that challenges the status quo. So it's either going to be harnessed by the establishment in their think tanks or whatever, or it's going to be repressed by it. It's not going to be freely encouraged because imagination gives us wings, and wings are symbols of freedom. That's why they have been usurped by many middlemen, social, institutional formats, templates. So what is this middleman? The middleman is the matrix. The middleman is the one that forges a link between you, the life that you know, the people you know, the interactions you know. You say, well, I know people are good or bad or this or that or weak or strong because I experience it. I interact with them. They may be brainwashed, but they're still exhibiting their nature under whatever conditions. I have this experience. So I can say for a fact that my town exists, even though, and then comes the middleman that says, well, the bigger picture says that everything is an illusion. Nothing exists. So you're wrong. Your town is just a fabrication in somebody's computer program. So you're nobody, you're nothing, you have no value, and you're shit. And so if you die, it doesn't matter. You're really something completely different. You're really the boil on my butthole or the butthole of God or whatever, or we're all one. So it doesn't make a difference if somebody tortures you because you hear the torture as well, and it's all your damn fault. You see, this is what the middleman says. Many religions call the middleman the devil. Many social economic systems really look at the middleman and say, this is a crook, I mean, the middleman comes out of convenience for us, out of a sense of, well, look, I can benefit from this, so I'm not being charitable, actually, but I'm being fair. I'm going to go to the person who produces stuff. Oopsie, they're blurring me out. They're trying to wipe me away.
It's still fuzzy.
There's a fog on my window, and I don't think I'm breathing that hard on the lens here. It's far away. So I'm trying to, speak to you through a cloud of conception, a cloud of misconception that surrounds all of these issues. So essentially, the middleman is the one that takes the goods from the source, brings them to you. And so they're doing you a service because they let you go do your other job, which is actually to provide service for somebody else or be a specialist in whatever you want to do. And your other job, of course, is a society of middlemen. In the end, all we are is working for middlemen. And some of us, allegedly, I'm a farmer, I'm a whatever, I produce things directly. Yes, but who owns, essentially, who are you dependent upon? Even your government demands taxes, Every middleman is actually now the owner of both the one who accepts the goods and services, the consumer, so to speak, and the one who produces them, because every producer is also a consumer. And every consumer produces something, expends their energy in some way. And even if they have an inheritance, that energy is still reserved from somebody else's expense bestowed upon them. Now, the middleman, however, and that's insofar as the little picture is concerned. I mean, we've talked about this. Other people in alternative whatever have talked about it. Society, government, corporations, banks are the middlemen. These are material, real social reality type middlemen, middle people, you might say. And anybody with two eyes in their head can actually see them working, even though they might consider it completely normal. And anything that doesn't fall into normalized parameters is a conspiracy. And that's always an illusion because they're told this way. Because the evidence that they deny has been spoon-fed to them, dictates that it be so. And then you have the bigger picture. The bigger picture, essentially, on the boundary of the bigger picture, there's other things. For the same reason, it's too much trouble to go into an esoteric path And then it's terrifying to confront the unknown there. And questions are rarely answered without much, much, much commitment and much, much stress. It's not just all, roses and beautiful petals and clouds and harps and this and that. There's a lot of stuff that is terrifying and people cannot put in a context of their little window, of their microcosm window. Even though these very existential issues, these truths or truisms say that, look, the little world and the big world are actually the same world. And they're in you or of you,
Yeah, these things are mind-boggling to the average person.
They are. Not only mind-boggling, but if you read accounts of people who have had mystical experiences, yes, certainly it's great and all of that, and beyond words, but there's always a dark night of the soul, usually at some point. Sometimes there's terror, there's avoidance, there's running away. Some people just go insane, Kundalini crisis, this, that, the other. Lives fall apart because they cannot handle it. And that's one of the things that the little window is for. It tells you, look, your limits are what you need to function in the little world, in your personal life. You need boundaries, you need limits. However, you also, in order to be free and creative and experience that little world even better, the big world offers you vast potentials of energy, of possibility, of inspiration, of opportunity. And if you are more interested in the bigger world, you need to ground that, because if you just go off in the bigger world, then your body stays behind. And you don't even know what's going to become of the rest if the body stays behind and there's no integration between the two. A lot of people, the middleman then comes in and says, well, this world sucks anyways. Oh, really? You're trapped here. This is a prison planet. The Anunnaki came and created you out of monkeys and cockroaches so you could mine gold for them, because why? They like gold. What are they going to do with the gold? They're like misers. Gold has a certain conductivity. It conducts the human energy body, shall we say, in a way that makes you look important. So rulers wore regalia. They wore crowns. They wore breastplates. If you look at some of the stuff that rulers wore in ancient times, they just filled themselves with gold. So no wonder they could walk. So gold would conduct their whole presence, and they would be impressive. They would look impressive. They would say something and people would go, oh, you must be an important, you're the sun. You shine like the sun. It's not just the physical shining. It actually is a conductor of the human energy field, shall we say, or human presence. And then the very aspect of gold, just owning it somewhere, you don't even have to wear it if you have enough of it. The fact that you own it and others recognize that you own it as the fog rolls into my image, gives you a sense of authority, even though you're nobody. And so rulers have gone to a great extent to tell people that, look, man, I'll give you everything I got if you just give me the equivalent worth in gold. Oh, then gold will get me everything. So then we invest our soul in this gold. And, I wouldn't call it the root of all evil. Psychopathy is the root of all evil. But gold
what is the root of all
is
evil?
a media.
Gold's the root? You would call what?
The psychopathy that has overvalued it.
Okay.
The psychopathic affliction and the ignorance in the rest of us that have fallen for that, because somebody has given you a shiny little bauble and says, oh, this is the standard. Now, anybody who goes around promoting this thing as the standard, in my view, is suspect, because gold is a middleman. Money is a middleman. Middlemen, middle people, middle things, these are links that are convenient. But the authority of these links, the only way you can trust these links is if you are their authority. Now, some say, well, Bitcoin's like that. Or there's cryptocurrencies. Well, how do you know? These are like information that come from sources tell you they're okay, and and there's rumors saying they're okay, and I can vouch for it because I'm a computer person and I know, and of course they get their information from other experts, and it is a rumor. even if it's proof because that rumor is being encouraged and supported. It's like like I said with the casino, you know, there's gonna be, unless you have people actually winning, there's no point in anybody wanting to go. Nobody's going to go to the casino unless there are people, I won, you know, or lottery winnings. They have to publicize that. Somebody wins the lottery.
It's the same thing with the free people that want freedom and want to get out of the matrix. They seem to let a few people through that imaginary door, and yet most people are still kept on the other side and trapped by that imaginary door.
Exactly. And they make, there are some people, you know, most of those people are probably on the, you know, they're employees, or working for them in some capacity, but there are a few genuine ignoramuses that are encouraged in their ideological speculation or whatever, in their premises, to go through that door, make videos. The algorithms support them. They are promoted. People hand them, you know, if you get publicity, if you are encouraged, you're going to get more publicity. Somebody once wrote, the best way to make money is to have money. You know, if you are already a capitalist, means you have capital, which means you are an investor, which means you're already, you know, you're not poor. You're not somebody who is empty seeking to be filled. You are somebody who has already harvested, and now you want to harvest more. So capitalism is for people who have and are going to get more. It's not for people who have not. Now, that doesn't make me a communist. See, automatically I would make a comment like this, somebody would say communist or whatever. This is middleman ideology again. You know, if you just wipe all that out, have an exercise, use your imagination and just remove middleman stuff. Just say, okay, but that's going to make you feel insecure because religion is part of that. Then again, if you remove religion, somebody's going to stick another one in there. You're going to say science. Well, yeah, science up to a certain point is observable by you. But to the extent that it's not observable by you, and yes, we have technology that is based on something. I've done research based on scientific theories that are not immediately observable, but they support the research. Things work. I took measurements, you know, and then results come from measurements. Technologies are built. But they take this and they bring it further and further and further, give us these theories of, you know, well, we've proven the God particle, we've proven dark matter. No, you haven't proven jack. There are things that haven't been proven, and there are many, many theories that are just as likely to be true. For example, you know, there is no absolute proof of a Big Bang, yet everybody talks about it. There's no absolute proof of black holes. There is no absolute proof that genes define who you are. There is no proof that a soul exists or a soul does not exist, you know. All of these are basically things that you are told are true or not true. People argue about things that other people have told them are true or not true. Nobody is really arguing their own viewpoint unless they're a very, shall we say, rural individual who doesn't care. Who says, well, I really don't care about all that stuff, and I just see what I'm seeing right there. And there's a certain wisdom in that, you know, a certain, you know, rural hillbilly wisdom, call it, or whatever you want to call it. Whatever your culture is, you know, we tend to make fun of Caucasian rural types, but, you know, they're all over the world. Most of humanity is, you know, part of the hillbilly spectrum, so to speak. They're people of the land. They're people of small communities and families and so-called traditions. So middlemen are what we entrust with fabricating reality for us. Our teachers, our priests or pastors or whatever, you know, our philosophers, our scientists, or even our doctors say, well, you know, you need this, you need to be inoculated, you need this pill, you need this operation. You know, sometimes they're right. A lot of times when they pump us full of chemicals, they may be working for somebody, for a grander middleman. So maybe the title of this video could have been Beware the Middleman, but it's not, because the message is actually positive. The message says, take charge of your windows. Take charge of your little viewpoint, of your personal viewpoint, and I'm not saying, dominate your life, dominate the people around you, or master your fate, or whatever. I'm saying take responsibility for your experience of your life. Don't let anybody else dictate to you. And I don't just mean what you believe already to be true. For example, I'm not going to let anybody tell me that my religion is wrong. Well, your religion has been dictated to you. You chose to believe something. So it's not really your experience. And if you have this experience, you don't really know that because the religion can say, well, I'll explain it. It's this, that. Oh, that's a really nice, simple answer. It makes things fit. And then the religion keeps going, but I didn't ask for all the rest. No. If you believe in page 5 of the Bible, you believe in page 50, 100, all of them. There is no, I can select, one page and that's it, or 5 page. That's what I do. I look at holy books from different religions and I say, well, page 5 is cool. Okay, page 7 is cool. But all the rest of them suck. So tear them out, edit them. Maybe I'll take 5 pages of the Quran, 5 of the Bible, 5 of the Taoist canon, and Buddhist and whatever, and then slap them together and make my own special little editing. People do that with videos all the time these days. And that is also what the middleman establishment wants to do with global religion, but according to their terms. I am not against that if everybody does it on their own. Go look at all the religions, take the best, and make your own. And follow that. And it doesn't have to be authoritative or historical or whatever. Because people think that, well, if you said one correct thing and 5 stupid things, then you're an asshole. That happens to just, It doesn't matter. You're not crediting a person. You're crediting an idea. And so it's not copyrighted either. Oh, but that's the idea of Jesus. I can't. No. An idea is universal. And these days we make money off of ideas, off of, creativity. That's another thing. The money is made off of our effort to put these ideas into form, into a medium. But the idea itself is universal. And don't let a middleman push one on you. The thing is, most people claim that they don't let anybody push anything on them, and I'm okay. Who are you to tell me? And one person told me the other day, because I wanted to clarify something. I said, well, this is a little bit. If you look at the information, there's a little more to this. Well, I know you mean well, but you're scolding me mildly, And it's like, no, I'm sorry that you're uncomfortable here, but there's people that read this and get a false impression. And basically, well, I don't care. I just want to express. I want to vomit out stuff. And no offense to that person, whatever. But the thing is that we do have a responsibility in this medium. And all I can recommend is that everybody take responsibility seriously, even though we live in a society where that is incredibly judged. Being responsible means that, oh, you were irresponsible before, so now you're being told to be responsible, which means you're being slapped on the wrist. And that is something I strongly encourage you to throw out the window, this idea that we're being punished and judged and whatever, because even if somebody else is doing it, they're an asshole. You can tell by their attitude. Forget about them. But give it a chance and see if they're an asshole. And if that's what they really do. We don't have to resort to bowing and scraping and apologizing to each other all the time. And then saying, I love you anyways. Oh, little hearts and flowers. Look, it's a serious issue. We are all subject to middlemen. But we all have our little windows, our personal lives, and we all have something beyond ourselves, whatever you might call it, reality, the mystery, the bigger picture, the why. And most people may not care, but the thing is, this is what gives this power. And this is what gives this meaning. So together, they meet here. They don't meet in the authority figure. So this is what I encourage. And this is why I made this talk today. Thank you. And let's just say this much controversial little form, namaste, because we are all in the same boat on some level.
Thank you, Aristo.